to lift and lengthen, bringing the top of the head parallel to the ceiling, the underside of the chin parallel to the floor. And if you're looking for something to do with your hands, place the backs of the hands on the inner thighs, turning the palms up towards the ceiling in a gesture of receptivity, open to this practice, open to doing whatever is within our gift today. Take a moment to squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears. Then as you exhale, just release and let those shoulders go. On the next inhale, squeeze the shoulders again, but also lift and lengthen out of the sit bones. Then as you exhale, release the shoulders. Keep that length in the spine. Visualize lining up the back of the head with the back of the tailbone. Drawing the shoulder blades together. Feeling the weight of the arms draw the shoulders a little more deeply away from the ears. And bring your awareness to the breath. Tune into the sensations of the breath from the tip of the nose along the nasal passages. The cool air on the breath in, the warm air on the breath out. Now, often when we are in an upright seated position, the breath feels a little more shallow, a little more rapid. So take your time to slow the breath down. Feel that with each deeper inhalation, we're filling the lungs completely, emptying the lungs fully. You may find it comfortable to breathe in and out through the nose. You might find that that deeper exhalation helps you to restore balance, to release your body of any toxins, any negative energy. A little noisier on the out breath. Building up to releasing this next exhalation with an audible sigh. You can continue with this noisy, deepened, lengthened breath. Then, when you're ready, return again to a natural, easy rhythm, just so that you don't feel you're forcing the breath. Notice the expansion through the lungs and the rib cage. Notice the weight of the bones, the joints become heavy as you exhale. Think of every inhalation nourishing, energizing. Every exhalation, a letting go. So acknowledge that if you've come to this practice today, clinging on to your to-do list, now is the time to make yourself a positive affirmation. You've set this time aside for yourself. So let's push that to-do list to one side and bring your full awareness to the union of the breath and the body. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling fully. Remain aware of your space within this room that surrounds you. Feel yourself expand and widen into the space above you, to the sides of you. Feel your connection with the earth beneath you. Now keep the eyes closed as you bring the palms in front of the chest, and we'll rub the palms together. Rub them a little faster to warm them. That brisk action, opening up all of the energy channels in the palms of the hands, creating heat here. Then open the palms and just gently place the palms over the face. Just allow the warmth from the palms of the hands, from the fingers, to soften the muscles of the face. Blink the eyes open behind the hands. And then slowly draw the fingers down along the jawline, under the chin, down through the length of the neck, across the collarbones. Using the elbows now to draw little circles, to open up through the chest, to mobilize the shoulders, gently releasing. Now bring the hands behind the lower back, interlocking left forefinger to the top of right as we draw the shoulder blades together, drawing the tummy button in. On an out breath, draw the hands away from the lower back, taking care not to press the chin forward. Perfect. Now release the hands back to the lower back. Separate the hands, and I'll give you a moment to just adjust your seated position. So if you're on the block or cushion, you might want to move it from underneath the bottom. And we'll take the opposite leg in front, behind, coming into the opposite leg cross. I'll just lower my camera a little bit so you can see my feet and my henna tattoo that my daughter drew on Sunday night. So squeezing the shoulder blades together again, this time lifting and lengthening the arms overhead. Let's not get too droopy. Press through the fingertips, soften the shoulders down away from the ears. Again, focus on the breath, that expansion into the lungs and the ribcage. As you bring the palms together, coming into an Anjali Mudra, it'll feel kinder to soften the elbows, visualizing the opening of the palms just above the crown of the head. On an out breath, drawing the shoulders away from the ears, drawing the shoulder blades together. Engage the core. Inhale to lengthen. Exhaling now to release the body over to the right side, deepening that stretch to the left of the rib cage. Just to help with balance, turn the head to look under that left armpit. Then inhale back to center, bringing the head forward. As you exhale, extend to the opposite side. Again, just turning the gaze up. It just helps to open through the neck. On an out breath, engage the core, bring the head back to center, and reposition the hands in front of the heart. Perfect. Place the right hand behind the right hip. Take the left hand and place it on the knee. Lift up out of the sit bones. Follow the right rib cage as you turn your gaze towards the back of the room. Press down into the palms. Before we come back to center, take a moment to lift and align again out of the sit bones and exhale to squeeze a little more deeply into this twist. Then again, press into the palms, engage the core. Inhale, lift the arms overhead again. I'm going to bring the hands into an interlock now and place them behind the back of the head. So this feels like a lot of effort to keep the elbows wide. Soften the shoulders down away from the ears and be aware that we're opening into these muscles here, just at the pectorals. On an out breath, gently nod that right elbow down towards the floor. And again, if it helps, you can turn your gaze up towards the left elbow, keeping the elbows open. Engage the core, return to center. We'll take that to the opposite side. Inhaling again to return to center. This time bringing the right hand to the left knee, left hand behind the hip. A reminder to re-lengthen in the spine, following the rib cage. As you turn to face towards the back of the room. Remind yourself again to take that extra breath to re-lengthen. Exhale to twist a little more deeply into this space. Then release all of that tension in the twist as you turn the shoulders forward and replace the palms in front of the ankles. Keep those shoulder blades drawn together so you sense that you're leading with the sternum rather than the chin. As you inhale to lift out of the sit bones and exhale to fold forward, to release the inner thighs a little, to soften into that space across the lower back, particularly in the sternum, in the sacrum, easing the elbows to the floor, turning the gaze over the right shoulder, bringing the gaze back to the end of the fingertips, turning the gaze over the left shoulder, bringing the gaze back again towards the end of the fingers, engaging the core, then gently walking the hands back towards the ankles. Reposition both hands behind the hips. It may be that just fingertips can reach the floor, so don't force it. Don't create a leaning back. Press the palms or the fingertips to the floor. Inhale to lift the chest, and we'll open out through the front of the heart space. So lifting, opening the sternum, turning your gaze towards the ceiling. Then exhaling, releasing, coming back to a seated position. Welcome, Jane. Extend both arms forward. Bring the palms together. Right forefinger over left, coming into an interlock, opening the hands towards the heart. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in, roll through the spine and nod the chin to the chest. As you inhale, turn the hands inside out, open those palms towards the ceiling and lift to lengthen. Let the weight of the sit bones sink to the floor, release the inner thighs. On an exhale, return the hands back to heart space. Turn the palms back towards the heart, then widen the arms. So we'll take the arms out to shoulder height, palms facing forward, thumbs up, bringing the fingertips in towards the palms, shoulder blades drawn together. Now gently lift the arms up about a third of the way. Keep drawing the shoulders down away from the ears and visualize that space through the collarbones across the chest, expanding with every inhale, strengthening with every exhale, using that core engagement to support the lower back, the upper thoracic spine. On an out breath, draw the tummy button in. On an in breath, bring the arms up overhead, palms together in Anjali Mudra, pressing through the fingertips. Exhaling to engage the core and bringing the hands back towards the lower back, the heart even. Separate the hands. And let's take both legs forward now. So we're going to give ourselves a little bit of a break from that cross leg position, coming into Dandasana pose. I always turn side on because I think it's easier for you to see. So in Dandasana pose, particularly when we've come out of cross leg, there's a chance that the sit bones are quite tucked under, the tailbones under. So I often use the hands to remove the padding so that I can feel the sit bones fully connect to the floor. We keep a little gap behind the knees and we turn the toes up towards the ceiling. Imagine there's a wall behind the back of the head. So we're going from the back of the head all the way to the tailbone. And again, we're wide through the chest. Extend both arms forward and simply focus on the breath here. So this is a very active posture. We feel that contraction in the thighs. We feel we're starting to work in the core. Keep the focus on the breath. Feeling that inhalation cool the thighs, cool the core. That exhalation strengthening, engaging. Inhale to lift both arms overhead, pressing through the fingers, softening the shoulders away from the ears. Then on and out breath. Float the hands all the way down either side of the hips. My preference is to turn the fingers out. I think it's kinder on the wrists. Shoulder blades drawn together so that we're really opening again through the collarbones. Walk the feet in. Push down into the soles of the feet. Lift the bottom from the floor. So ideally in this posture, we want to try and lift the bottom. There's a little bit of tightness in the front of the thighs, so focus on pressing the shins forward, releasing that space through the front of the hip flexors, widening through the space across the chest, keeping the back of the head lined up again with the tailbone. Then exhaling to lower the bottom to the floor. And then I'm going to get you to lie all the way back. So lower onto the mat. Let the shoulders become heavy. So we've done quite a lot of work through the chest to open through the chest. For now, keep the knees bent and take the arms out into a T-shape position. So palms again are turned up towards the ceiling. The back of the head rested, the neck in a neutral spine position. Then on and out breath, roll the knees to the right side. So we're simply keeping the feet connected to the mat, rolling the knees over, turning the gaze towards the left hand, relaxing the shoulders back and down, breathing in that space from fingertip to fingertip, expanding into the space at the side of the rib cage. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button in, roll the knees back to center, and take the knees over to the opposite side. Turn the gaze along the length of the right arm, wide through the chest. Then as you exhale, engage the core, roll the knees back to the middle again. Let's reset the hands either side of the hips. So again, we want that sense of drawing the shoulder blades together, creating a nice stable base to rest the upper body weight. Feel the heels just in front of the sit bones. Push down into the soles of the feet and inhale to lift the bottom from the mat. Wide through the chest, pressing the shins forward, lifting the thighs a little higher. We want to remain soft in the neck, so take a moment to turn your gaze over the right shoulder, to bring your gaze back to center, to take that gaze over the left shoulder, then again to come back towards center. Press the shins forward. And if you haven't already been doing so, clench the buttocks, lift the hips a little higher, squeeze the buttocks together, but keep the breath steady. Inhaling. Now to lift the arms overhead, resting the backs of the hands on the floor, squeezing the buttocks, pressing the shins forward. Then on and out breath, releasing that little bit of tension at the back of the buttocks in the hips by gently rolling down through the spine and lifting the arms up and over to replace the hands either side of the hips. So a bit like a Mexican wave, pushing into the soles of the feet, lifting the hips, drawing the arms up and over. Squeezing the buttocks here, lifting the hips a little higher. Peeling the right heel from the mat as you push into the right ball of the foot. Replace that heel to the floor. Squeeze as you lift the left heel. Replace that foot to the floor. Coming up onto the balls of the feet as you lift both heels from the mat, squeezing the buttocks, pressing the shins forward. Exhaling now to release the heels to the floor. Unclench the buttocks, then start that roll down through the spine again, once more bringing the arms up and over. Resting the hands again either side of the hips. Turning the palms up to the ceiling, then sliding the hands back to that T-shaped position. Now bring the left leg up and over to rest on the top of the right thigh. So we're just above the knee joint, not on the knee joint itself. As you exhale, pick that right foot off the floor and squeeze the knee in towards the chest. So this will round the lower back to the mat. That little natural lift that we feel in the lower back will be filled in the floor. Point the toe, then flex the toe. Point that right toe, then come again to flexion. Then press through that right heel to bring that right leg perpendicular, holding the sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. Then using the big toe to draw 3 circles in towards the midline of the body. Changing direction, taking those circles the opposite way. Point through the toe, flex through the toe. Bring that right knee back into a bend and draw the knee closer to the chest again. So we're really exaggerating that release at the side of the buttock. Now lower that right foot to the floor. Nothing fancy, simply bring that left knee over the midline of the body. Taking that left knee to your right side, turning your gaze along the left arm. Trying to keep that left shoulder attached to the floor. So we're deepening the stretch again through the side of the rib cage, softening and releasing around the outside edge of the hip. Then on and out breath, draw the tummy button in, roll the knees back to center. Unhook that left foot, reposition the heels hip width apart, bring the right foot up and over. So same sequence on the other side. It might feel more comfortable to just roll that right knee in towards the nose rather than keeping that thigh too open. Then on and out breath, lift that left foot from the floor and squeeze that knee in towards the chest. Keep pressing the knee in, deepening the release down the side of the buttock, the outside of the hip. Coming now to a straight left leg, pushing the sole of the foot parallel to the ceiling. Inhale to point. Exhale to flex. Inhale to point. Coming back again to flexion. Then using the toes to draw again those little circles both ways. Rebending that left knee, squeezing the knee in towards the chest. Then taking a rest as you replace that foot to the floor. We're bringing the right knee over the midline of the body, rolling to the left, taking the gaze along the length of the left arm. So again, ideally, we want to feel those shoulders stuck to the floor. So work with your breath, expanding and widening on the inhale, softening and releasing on the exhale. Then draw the tummy button in and roll the knees back again towards center. This time, as you unhook the knee, draw both knees in towards the chest. And we'll draw a little figure of 8 with the knees just above the hips. So we're keeping that space at the back of the sacrum nice and soft, released. Resetting the feet on the floor. And sliding the feet now along the mat. So coming into a more traditional Shavasana corpse pose. Turning the palms again up towards the ceiling. Inhaling to point through the toes, lifting the arms overhead, pressing through the fingers, taking a long stretch through the front of the body. Bringing the thumbs together in an interlock, drawing the toes in towards the shins and pushing through the heels. Then exhaling to push the upper body to the right, feeling a deeper opening through the left of the rib cage into the side of the waist. Inhaling to return to center,
Take that long stretch again. Bring the thumbs together, the feet back to flexion, and push to the opposite side. Keep that breath steady rather than holding the breath. Inhale to return to center and take another long stretch from fingers to toes. On an out breath, hug the right knee to the chest, placing the hand to the shin. Because we've left that left leg extended, just keep that left hip relaxed, released. As you redirect the right knee out towards the right shoulder, widening the space at the back of the sacrum, then drawing little circles with that knee. It feels as though we're kind of mobilizing the top of the thigh bone into the hip joint. Now release the hands from the shin. Take another long stretch. Exhaling now to hug the left knee in. A moment once more to relax the right thigh. Pressing that hands to the shin to release the lower back to the floor. Directing the left knee out to the left shoulder. Then drawing those little circles. Once more, just working through that mobilization in the hip joints. Now reset that left foot to the floor. Slide the right knee up. So again, we're back to this knee bent position. We'll keep the left knee bent. We'll take the arms back to that T shape, palms turned up to the ceiling, as we roll the right knee out to the side. So think of this like a half Baddha Konasana. So the left knee stays square to the hip, the right knee rolls out to the side. Fiona will just keep that left knee bent. That's it. And then effectively we'll just switch over to the other side. So the left knee rolls out. The right knee is just pointing straight up. That's it. Beautiful. Sounds more complicated than it is. It's very easy. Then roll that right knee out again. This time as you roll the right knee out, push down into the sole of the left foot and lift your bottom from the floor. So it feels a bit like half of a bridge, half of a Baddha Konasana. Bit wonky in the hips. Bring the back of the hips back to the floor. Roll through the feet again. We're bringing the left knee out, pushing into the sole of the right foot and lifting the hips. Then as you exhale, draw the knees together, reset the hips back to the floor. Perfect. Draw the knees in towards the chest. We're going to straighten the legs up towards the ceiling now. Now, some of you might find this a little challenging on the lower back, so you might prefer to pop the hands underneath the lower back, kind of into that squishy part just underneath the sacrum, pressing through the heels. And it's a bit similar to that action that we did earlier if we sat on a cushion or a block. It just lifts the hips a little higher, so it puts less tension on the lower back muscles. Inhale to point both toes. Exhale to flex. Inhale to point. Come to full flexion, push through the heels. Draw the weight of the sit bones into the back of the hands or into the floor. Take a little bend to the left knee as you lower the right heel down to rest an inch from the mat. The weight of your legs will be a little bit heavy on the hands. Exhale, draw the tummy button in. Slide that right foot back to center. Take a little bend to the right knee as you lower the left leg, just supporting the lower back and creating a little bit of warmth in the core. On an out breath, draw the tummy button in, slide that left foot back to center, push through both heels, so straighten the legs again. Then on the next exhale, free the hands and hug the knees towards the chest. Beautiful. So you will know what's best for you to get to the next seated position. My preference is to bring the hands behind the thighs and roll up and then roll back down. This might not work if you get dizzy. So if you feel dizzy, roll to your left, taking a moment there to blink the eyes open. Then we'll come back up to a seated position. Perfect. I think you're all with me. Jane, I can literally just see the top of your head. As long as you're happy that you know what you're doing. So we'll come to an all fours position now. Knees hip width apart, wrists directly underneath the shoulders, spreading the fingers so there's a tiny little gap under the palms, a little bit of play under the palms. Let's take that right foot back, turn the toe under, push through the heel, releasing into the calf. Don't overdo it into the back of the knee. Let's just focus on that calf area, that ankle. Bring the right knee in. Take the opposite foot back, same stretch. Simply a release. Bring that knee back in. Make sure the knees are hip width apart, turning the toes under. Exhaling to draw the tummy button in, rolling up through the spine. Now, as you release, bring yourself back to a neutral spine position. Rest on the tops of the feet and draw the sternum forward, drawing the shoulder blades together. So we want to feel this in two distinctly different places. When we do the roll up, try to lead from the lower back. So lifting at that space just above the sacrum, rather than curving the shoulders. Then when you come to the opposite action, drive the sternum forward, close the shoulders off and open the gaze ahead. Exhale, roll up. Inhale, lift forward. Beautiful. Now relax back into a neutral spine position. Extend the arms forward. Feel as though you're sticking the palms to the mat. Push the sit bones back towards the heels. Pressing the sit bones away from the hands. Drawing the shoulders away from the ears. Resting the ears between the upper arms. And only bringing the forehead to the floor if it doesn't cause you to put any strain on the back of the neck. Now lift the fingertips from the mat, press the wrists to the floor. Lower the elbows, lift the chest forward, slide the thighs back. Keep the elbows directly underneath the shoulders, the forearms connected to the floor. Resting on the palms, drawing the shoulder blades together. On an out breath, turn the gaze over the left shoulder and fold the right knee in towards the bottom. So it just feels like a gentle stretch through the front of the thigh. Bring the gaze to center, replace that right foot to the floor. Lift the left heel in as you turn the gaze over the right shoulder. Replace that foot to the floor. Bring the upper body all the way down to the mat. Lift the elbows up so that we can reposition the hands either side of the chest. Draw the elbows in towards the ribcage. Push into the palms. Inhale to lift the chest. This won't be great for people with tightness in the lower back, so if you need to, come down to a little half version. Then on an out breath, push the sit bones towards the heels. Again, we're coming into that lovely, strong, lengthened child's pose. As we lift back to center, we want to extend that right arm further forward. So really lifting the elbow up, pressing the left arm under, bringing the left ear, the left shoulder to the floor. We call this posture twisted puppy pose. Quite cute idea. Push into the right palm. Take that twist to the opposite side. Then extend both arms forward. Press the elbows towards the floor. Then again, push the sit bones back towards the heels. So this is a deeper, full puppy pose. So probably feeling quite a lot of action under the armpits, across the tight space at the shoulder blades. Then lifting back up into an all fours position, resetting the wrists under the shoulders. But rather than keeping the knees under the hips, we're going to take the knees wide. Draw the toes together. So it kind of feels as though you've made a diamond shape. Then lower the elbows to the floor again. Press the sit bones back. So there's lots of lovely juicy space here in the inner thighs. Dare to say it, we can let our bellies flop. I like this one. Can just let all the tummy go. Lower the forehead to the floor. Breathe into that space in the inner thigh and the lower back. Then push down into the forearms. Lift yourself back up towards center. Bring the knees back together. Turning the toes under, pushing the sit bones back. So for those of you who are new, if we haven't done this before, we're going to do a little downward facing dog sequence. I'm going to take it up in increments. So you'll stop at the point where you feel that's enough stretch for you. So there's sort of 3 ways to go. So the first version is to push the sit bones back. Keep the elbows nice and soft. There's a real temptation to turn the elbows forward, which is great if you've got quite mobile joints, but for most of us, that's a little extreme. So just soften the elbows, turn them out if you need to. Lift the knees from the floor, press the heels back to the mat. So you can tell that you're making a real bent knee position. We're nice and long and straight from the back of the head to the tailbone. And we're not feeling that we're holding the upper body up so much because we've got that bend in the knees. So the wrists feel nice and relaxed. Now to take a rest, lower the shins to the floor and sit back on the heels. It may be more comfortable to rest one hand on top of the other. Bring the forehead to rest on top of the hands. And then we'll just repeat that gesture of rolling the head from one side to the other, bringing the ear parallel to the floor, then coming back to center. Come back up into an all fours position, and we'll do the next version of the downward facing dog. So if you found that first one was quite a challenge for you, you might want to repeat that. We're now going to turn the toes under, keeping the knees a little soft, so there's no real need to get the heels to the floor. You can keep the knees soft, but not as bent as we were the last time. The key is to lift the tailbone so that we lengthen the spine and to feel the ears between the upper arms. To try and find a little more space to the back of the hamstrings, bend the right knee, then the left knee, pushing the opposite heel to the floor. On an out breath, see how it feels to level both heels to the mat, lifting the tailbone, pressing the thighs to the back of the room. This is now a full downward facing dog posture. Then on an out breath, bend the knees, sit back on the heels, bring the forehead to the floor, and rest the hands either side of the ankles. We're going to mobilize the wrists, gently drawing little circles, just in case you were holding yourself up there in that downward facing dog position. Brilliant. So you get to have a momentary rest while I demonstrate something that I can't do. But I need to throw this one in. So some of you, when we do the downward facing dog, find it's really creates a lot of discomfort in the wrists. Some of you will find that you're very flexible in the hamstrings and it doesn't really feel like much of a challenge for you. So we've got an app for that. We've got an app for everything. So the alternative for those of you who would like more stretch through the hamstrings or less pressure on the wrists is to come into what we call dolphin pose. If you're new to yoga, we're not going to try this one. We're going to repeat downward facing dog and I'm going to watch you. But for those of you who know what you're doing, this is the alternative. So we'll bring the elbows towards the floor. So we're back onto forearms. And I'll just show you for now because it's really difficult when you're upside down to do it. We're wrapping the hands around the elbows, making a kind of TP shape with the hands, bringing the back of the head into the hands, interlocking. Notice that I'm walking the knees in, turning the toes under, lifting, And then it gives me a little bit more space to lower the heels to the floor. So for those of you who are really tight in the hamstrings, really long in the hamstrings, you will enjoy this. If you're like me, a mere mortal who can't open the hamstrings, your heels will be a mile off the floor. Then we'll bend the knees, and it's important that we take child's pose because that is a proper inversion. So if you have any pressure behind the eyes, if you have migraines, you want to avoid doing that posture. If you are very inflexible in the hamstrings, you probably won't want to try it. So what I would say is for those of you who want to give dolphin pose a go, set yourself up. For the rest of you, I'd like to see your downward facing dog because I was upside down when you were doing it. So for the downward facing dog generic version, let's come back into an all fours, the easiest place to start. Brilliant. Jean, can I suggest that we're in all fours actually? If you just practice taking the right foot back, pushing through the heel, and then lift that bottom up to line up with the back of the bot. So just do that action for us while we're doing down dog. Perfect. So if you're doing downward facing dog, turn the toes under, lift up, push the sit bones towards the ceiling. Sally, I can't see you, but I'm hoping you're doing dolphin. I can see your bottom, but I can't actually see your upper body. Beautiful. Fiona, I thought you might try dolphin pose. I've outed you now. Excellent. Thank you, my love. Beautiful. So, Gloria, a little more lift in the bottom, lifting the tailbone up. Yay! Look at that lovely long spine. Beautiful. And Hazel did the same when I said that. So that was great. I got 2 for the price of 1 there. Then when you're ready, lower back down. Beautiful. Sit back on the heels and don't forget to give yourself those few moments in child's pose. Don't be tempted to sit up. Just let the blood flow return to normal. Lovely. Then when you're ready, lift back up. Are you all still with me? I tell you what, down dog separates the crowd. Roll the shoulders back. Let's ease the shoulders off. Gorgeous. I'll turn and face you and we'll do some stuff to release the chest and the shoulders. So start by giving yourselves a hug, bringing one arm over the other, nodding the chin towards the chest. Then engage the core, lift the head so that we're lining up the back of the head with the tailbone, then separate the arms and bring the hands to the hug on the opposite side. So same action, different arm on top. Now return to draw the gaze over the right shoulder, underside of the chin parallel to the floor. Keep the core engaged, bring the gaze forward. Turn the gaze over the other shoulder. Then bring the gaze forward. Lovely. Separate the arms. Push down into the shins and lift up onto the shins so that we don't really want to feel the weight on the knee joint. So keep almost like bringing your weight back to the shins, onto the tops of the feet. The temptation here is to push the hips forward because we feel that that gives us balance. The downside to pushing the hips forward is it shortens the muscles of the lower back. So let's think length through the front of the body. Anchor into those shins, press the thighs rather than the hips forward. Lift, lift, lift through the belly, through the sternum. Keep lifting the gaze up towards the ceiling, letting the shoulders become heavy. Then bring the hands to an interlock just to give you an extra little bit of weight to ease back. Lovely. Now exhale, engage the core. Inhale, come back to center. Bring both hands forward, back to an all fours position. Turning the toes under, exhaling to draw the tummy button in, nodding the chin to the chest. Then coming back to that all fours position. Push the hips over to the right side. Bring the hips back to center. Push them to the left side. Return again to center. Then use the hips to draw a little figure of 8. And you can be as creative as this as you like with this. You can be really funky. You can keep it quite tight, or you can go for it, really flow it out. Lovely. Get your freak on. Then come back to center, turning the toes under one last time to roll up again into that gorgeous cat stretch, really weighting the sit bones down towards the floor, nodding the chin to the chest, keeping that lift as we extend that stretch in the lower back. Release back to neutral spine position. We're going to come back into a seated posture before I take you into your Shavasana. So I'm going to start by extending the left leg, bringing the sole of the right foot into the inner thigh, lifting up out of the sit bones. And what we'll notice straight away is when the knee is bent, there's a tendency that it pulls your body, your upper body weight over to that side. So try to keep the shoulders directly above the hips. Bring the hands in front of the ankles. In an ideal world, we'll keep that left toe pointing up so that it doesn't kind of turn out, and keep a tiny bit of slack behind the knees. Then use the out breath to ease into a fold here. So we'll use the same idea as we do every time we do a forward fold. We place the hands enough far forward that we're opening the chest, but not so much that we're lifting the shoulders. Then we ease the elbows towards the floor. So we deepen into that inner thigh stretch. I don't think I need to check if you're feeling it, because I can see in your face that it's working. Nice little grimaces. Push down into the palms, lift the chest, and walk the hands back towards the ankle. Perfect. Extend the right leg, bring the left leg in. You'll be nice and creaky after this one. Walk the hands forward. And again, we want to try and keep that sense of the weight being centered. A good sort of tell is if that right sit bone has lifted from the floor. That would suggest that you're kind of trying to shortcut that stretch. So pop that sit bone back to the mat, lower the elbows and extend the chest forward. I say lower the elbows as if that's easy. Clearly it's not. That's a big gesture. Now draw the tummy button in, walk the hands back to center, widen both feet, keep that slack behind the knees. In fact, pull the knees up so that we don't interfere with the back of the knee joint. Bring the hands again in front of the chest. Then as you exhale, start to walk forward. And again, we can bring the elbows towards the floor, shoulder blades drawn together. If this is causing you no trouble, you can slide the heels a little further away, closing that little gap under the knees. If it still feels like a bit of a walk in the park, you can take your hands either to the ankles or to the soles of the feet and bring the chest parallel to the floor. If you get the chest onto the floor, you win this week's prize. Nobody fancy that one then? Then engage the core. Bring the hands back under the chest. Push into the palms and walk the hands back to center. Blimey, I bet you're glad that one's over. Soles of the feet together. So when we were lying down, we did that. We did sort of a half Baddha Konasana where we rolled one knee out and then the other. I'm always a fan of doing one leg at a time because naturally in the body we are tighter on one side than the other. So this doesn't take any prisoners. Both knees wide, lifting up out of the sit bones. Be careful that there's not too much tension as you hold either the ankles or the toes. It's a really soft touch. Then on and out breath, hinge forward. Drawing the shoulder blades together, leading with the sternum. Then exhaling to draw the tummy button in. One last little test of your metal. Line up the back of the head with the tailbone, keep the shoulders relaxed, take hold of the right foot, push the heel away. So we remain balanced in center. Sometimes taking that leg out to the side knocks us off center, so taking the opposite arm out just helps to balance. Good. Puppy's been very well behaved today, Tamara. Bring that foot back to center, lift and lengthen, opposite foot out. Beautiful. I love it when you smile when you do it. Then bring that foot back in. Take a big breath. A little prayer if you need to. Lift both legs. Keep the core engaged. If you fall back, I win 5 points. Excellent, thank you. Keep pressing through the heels, lifting through the sternum, engaging the core. Then draw the soles of the feet together. Perfect. Lift up and lengthen. Ease forward into that hinge again. Then engage the core, lift back to center. Let's take both legs forward and just give the legs a little bit of a wiggle, because while we were wide there, we're really stretched. So we're momentarily in Dandasana. We're just going to point the toes, flex the toes, point, then flex. Then we're going to make life really easy. We're going to get ready to relax. So just roll yourself down. If you need to pop on a pair of socks, pull on a fleece or a blanket, then now is the time to do so. Now, you don't have to lie down. If you would prefer to sit up, you can. So make any adjustments you need. Oh, yes, I'm loving that bolster, Noreen. Perfect. You're very lucky to have a bolster under your knees. That's just lush. So remember that if the lower back is troubling you, it's always a good idea to keep the knees bent or to stick a big fat pillow or a bolster underneath the knees so that you can relax and not think about bending the knees. If you prefer, you can come to a traditional Shavasana position, extending the arms, the legs, separating the hands and the feet equal distance from the midline of the body, turning the palms up towards the ceiling in a gesture of receptivity, being open and ready to receive a healing relaxation for today's Shavasana. So take a few moments to let the weight of your body sink again into the earth beneath you, to relax the weight of your arms, your legs, to once more soften the jaw, release the tongue in the well of the mouth, soften the lips, and bring your awareness back to the breath. Allow your body to fully relax, to be still. And simply notice the depth and the pace of your breath without judgment. There's no need to fix anything. There's nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to do. For now, give yourself permission to fully release and relax. Notice the belly rise on the inhale. Feel the belly soften and release on the exhale. Notice that expansion, that widening on the breath in,
That sense of sinking a little more deeply into the earth beneath you on the breath out. Remain connected to the sensations and feelings of the body. Give yourself permission to let go. Tune in to the rhythm of your breath. Breathe in love. Breathe out tension. Breathe in harmony. Breathe out discord. Breathe in healing. Breathe out dis-ease. Maintain your focus on the breath and allow your breath to become slower and deeper still. Breathe in love. Breathe out tension. Breathe in harmony. Breathe out discord. Breathe in healing. Breathe out dis-ease. Release yourself of all judgment, of any criticism. Simply focus on breathing in joy and love. Focusing on allowing the body to heal. Allow positive thoughts to assist in this healing. And give yourself permission to release, to let go of any blocks to well-being. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Allow yourself to release that breath with a sigh. Now remain focused on that deeper, slow breath. As you breathe in love, breathe out tension. Breathe in harmony. Breathe out discord. Breathe in healing. Breathe out dis-ease. Notice your body still and silent. And allow the body to share what it needs to heal. With each full breath transaction, welcome that sensation of calm and quiet through your whole body. Maintain an awareness on your breath. Deepening the inhalation, lengthening the exhalation. Gradually becoming aware again of your space within this room. Feeling the texture of your clothing against your skin. Noticing the cool air in the room against your face, your hands, your feet. As you gradually return sensation here. Take your time, wiggling fingers and toes, wriggling the jaw and the nose. Perhaps taking that long stretch again through the body, or if you prefer, hugging the knees to the chest. In your own time, rolling to the side that feels most welcoming to you. Left is always a good bet if you have low blood pressure or if you feel a little dizzy. Take your time there to blink the eyes open and slowly return to a comfortable seated position. Now bring your hands to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.
Oh, that was marvellous.
Oh,
Absolutely
I'm pleased.
marvellous.
I'm pleased.